A woman can marry a man, leave him for any reason she wants, even after cheating on him, and still take half the assets and be awarded with an allowance from her ex-husband in perpetuity. It's not only outrageously unjust, but it also purposefully disincentivizes marital fidelity while incentivizing disloyalty and infidelity and divorce. There are many reforms that should be enacted to stop the bleeding here. The alimony system, for one thing, has to be drastically changed. Most alimony laws were created under the assumption that most women would be housewives and they would be stay-at-home moms, and most divorces would be initiated by men who are the sole breadwinners in the family.
What's up, YouTube? Welcome back to the Saving Men's Lives Network. Recently, the nation's largest bridal retailer, David's Bridal, has announced it's going bankrupt for the second time in just 5 short years. This is actually music to my ears because so many men have now begun to awaken to the fact that marriage, the way God designed it, has come a long way in the past 100 years of vaginal Marxism, aka feminism. So many things have been done to completely ruin the institution for men, that many men, having been through the ringer themselves, having seen what's happened to their friends and or their fathers, their uncles, their cousins, their older brothers, they've seen what the ravages of the purposely and provably corrupt family courts have become. The meat grinder for good men that often ends up being their final destination. And one could say it's a sad day for the ladies because they won't get their special day, as the statistics bear out that by 2030, well over 40% of women of marrying age and of childbearing age will be single and childless. And it's a fate they've brought upon themselves. In terms of David's Bridal, they are the tip of the spear for the entire marital industrial complex. Men going their own way has been a big detriment to that process, as well as the SYSBM, or Save Yourself Black Man movement. This has been another massive blow to this conglomerate of businesses and governmental entities who conspire to destroy men economically, mentally, as well as physically. To say nothing of the recent phenomenon of the passport bros, men who have looked at the Western dating market, thrown their hands up, tapped out like in a UFC fight, and gone overseas. To places like Southeast Asia, to places like the Caribbean islands, Central and South America, to places like the motherland of Africa, for men like myself. And for some men, who tiptoed around the Pacific Islands. For others, only Eastern Europe will do. But wherever these men decide to go, the bottom line is men are waking up every day. They're seeing for themselves what little they have to gain by marrying Western women. They've seen what happens to men who place that kind of gift in the hands of an emotion-based decision maker who can bring his entire life and his life's work crashing down around his ears, destroying the family and putting their children, which she wouldn't even have were it not for him, at statistical risk of devastation and a host of other detrimental aspects because they don't have their father in the home guiding them and bringing wisdom as well as discipline into their lives. Little girls on stripper poles and on OnlyFans, little boys becoming felons, providing and fueling the prison industrial complex as well. Fathers are important. And when you see everywhere you look the tearing down of masculinity, while the exact same women who pretend to be wife material also pretend that they're victims. Women who bring literally nothing of value into a man's life have a list of requirements that blows the mind in its audacity. But don't take my word for it. Roll the clip.
Problem with the world today.
The world? All of it? Oh, I'm interested.
Is that a lot of y'all men were never taught what a real man is and what a real man does.
Do we not? Oh, sorry about that. Well, I'm excited to hear what a real man is. Hopefully from a real woman. Continue.
A real man works 7 days a week.
Seems excessive, but okay. 7 days.
Comes home to his stay-at-home wife.
Okay, well, I hope she's got company.
Cooks her a hot meal.
Of course, she needs to eat, doesn't she?
Does the laundry.
That's fair. Can't have you smelling now, can we?
Make sure her nails and toes and her hair is done.
Working 7 days a week won't stop this man from becoming a beauty therapist as well.
Serves her
What with, a restraining order?
Does the dishes.
If anyone else start getting the feeling she's taking the piss.
Make sure the kids are put away to sleep.
Keep them away from your lazy ass, Mike.
Gets up in the morning, get them ready for school.
Then hop on a plane to get away from that woman as far away as you possibly can.
And do it all over again. That's a real man.
Anyone who's had the misfortune of dealing with a Western woman born after 1965 will tell you that it's frustrating. Just the idea of talking to one of them makes you want to itch in most cases. Because here's the deal. When you listen to a woman tell you what a, quote, real man, unquote, is, you'll hear her describe a simp, a slave, or a sucker. You'll hear her describe a footstool, a doormat, toilet paper. Gentlemen, this woman is not alone. I just did a video yesterday, and I'll link that down below, of another woman who weighs just as much as this one does, who's just as unattractive as this one is, giving a very similar list. Because they've been taught from the very first days of kindergarten, right after learning their colors and how to count to 10, they learned that they should be served, that they should be waited on hand and foot, and that they should bring literally nothing to the equation, that they're perfect just the way they are, no matter how they behave, no matter how they speak, no matter what they weigh. It is embarrassing, gentlemen. And when you fast forward in that mindset, 20 plus years, and then you got guys simping over them, you breed an entire nation of future cat ladies. But it gets so much worse. Watch this.
Marriage benefits men more than it does women. Divorce benefits women more than it does men. Pay attention because I'm about to drop some game. Marriage is not goals. You know what marriage is? Marriage is a scam, and it's a way to trap somebody to abuse them forever and indefinitely. Most men will use marriage, they'll weaponize it, they'll be on their best behavior until y'all get married, and then the mask drops. Then he shows his natural ass in that marriage because he feels that you're trapped and you can't go nowhere, especially if y'all have kids. He married you to turn you into his mother. That's why he loses sexual attraction for you once y'all get married, because in his mind, you have taken the place of his mama, and he can't have sex with his mama. That's gross. He also married you to turn you into a slave and a maid and a mule. And if he loses his job, you're going to pay all them fucking bills, and he's going to take his time looking for new employment because you got it all. He can slack up on the bills because he knows you're responsible. And whatever he don't do, he know for a fact you gonna do it, whether you want to do it or not, because you're the more responsible one. And if he cheats, he knows how difficult it is for you to get out the marriage. You can't up and leave because both of y'all names is on the mortgage, on the lease. His name is on the bills. You can't kick him out the house. Go to the police with that shit and watch what the police tell you. He legally has a right to stay, a resident in the household, even though you catch him cheating. So you're stuck with him. He knows he could cheat and come right back to you because y'all are married. You got his last name and his kids, and you can't just up and leave. So tell me who's benefiting more from marriage while he's stressing you the fuck out. But baby, once you file that divorce, and once that judge grants you the divorce, and that judge grants you child support and spousal support, oh, he's gonna fucking hate that shit. And he's gonna hate the fact that he can no longer control you while living a double life and fucking multiple side bitches. See, to an abusive man, divorce means loss of control. He cannot no longer fuck you. He cannot no longer control you or tell you what to do. He can no longer tap into your bank account because y'all don't have joint bank accounts no more. He can't stay in your fucking business even though you're dating other people. He lost that control. Men hate divorce. Ladies, protect your money, get a prenuptial agreement, and make that man get a psychiatric evaluation before you marry him.
Tell me you married Pookie, hoping you could change him, without telling me you married Pookie, hoping you could change him. Listen, I don't know her ex-husband, and I don't know what he put her through. But if he was a bad guy, then he got a bad outcome. But for her to pretend that marriage is something that only benefits men, This is delusion on a scale I, as a man, am simply incapable of reaching. This woman truly said that she and other women don't benefit from both marriage and divorce. It's actually quite simple, fellas. When a woman gets married, she wins. When a woman decides to detonate her marriage for whatever reason, she wins. Simply put, if she stays, she has an indentured servant working like a mule out in the fields of the plantation. If she leaves, the family courts, which are heavily skewed in her favor, will give her the cash and prizes she talks so glowingly about in this TikTok. Child support, coerced from that man at the point of a gun. Spousal support, which basically gives her an allowance for the rest of her life depending on what state they live in. Effectively a tax on that man for vagina he no longer has access to. This is the delusion of Western women, gentlemen. And you saw this shrieking shrew of a woman. Who wants to come home to that? I'm not going to justify his behavior, but I mean, at the exact same time, why would he want to come home to that? Why wouldn't he want to go seek out extra or alternative vagina to have his relations with? Why wouldn't he want to do that when this is what you're coming home to? Any man who's ever met a Western woman knows they're only going to tell the side of the story that makes them look like the hero. A woman that shrieks like this, making all this damn noise, you think she didn't weaponize sex and use it against him? You think she didn't give him the cold shoulder and shut him out because she didn't get her way? Come on, dog. Fellas, listen to me very carefully. Marriage is dying in the West, and it's supposed to. Because when you give things like this access to something as delicate and as fragile as a man's commitment and his trust, you break that man in most cases. They don't deserve it, gentlemen. Women in the West don't deserve marriage, and the statistics bear this out. 50% of all marriages end in failure. Of that 50% of marriages that crumble into dust, 70% of them were destroyed by the wife and her divorce lawyer. This kicks up to all the way to 90% if she does have a college degree. So, if the women who claim they want marriage, if the women who claim they deserve marriage are the ones destroying the marriages, we as men need to understand the danger that we find ourselves in when they do, and stop giving them access to the weapon they can use against us. With that said, fellas, that's my time. Like the video, comment down below. Share this video with a friend and subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. Never let your brother suffer in silence when the truth can set him free. Networkers, we working. Till next time.